What is up, basketball fans? Welcome to the newest episode of the Harold McBasketball Show. I'm your gracious host, Harold McBasketball, along with my co-host, as always, I know Ball Paul. How are you, man?
I'm great. They said we wouldn't be back. We wouldn't do it again, but we are. We're proving them wrong. We're back here again for our weekly episode. Let's fucking go.
Absolutely brand new max contract extension for the Harold McBasketball Show. You already know. So we're gonna be doing our summer league spectacular today. We're gonna be going through top picks, our favorite second year players who seem like they're way too good for summer league, and then some of the rookies who have been standouts so far from this draft class. So without further ado, Paul, should we talk about the top pick, Victor Wembanyama?
We should talk about the top pick, my boy Wemby, who had a slow first game. He started with only 9 points, not a great field goal percentage there. He seemed nervous. He seemed a bit reluctant. He was passing up a lot of shots. He seemed a bit lost, may I say, but a huge bounce back game in game two against the Blazers. 27 points, 12 rebounds, 9 of 14, and 3 blocks to round out a beautiful stat line. I was so excited to see it. Clutch three. What are your thoughts, Harold?
Yeah, the Frenchman looks legit. I I am slightly devastated that after that first game, he's such a great bounce back second game because I was ready to start with the memes, get the takes flying, biggest bust ever. But obviously, anyone who watches basketball knew that wasn't going to hold up. This guy is a generational freak. He looks spectacular in game two. The stroke was there. I was a little bit worried after the first game that
Yeah.
maybe the deeper 3 point line was going to catch up to him. Maybe it was too weird of a role for him to step into an NBA team. Was he going to be too fragile? Was he going to get bullied a little bit? Felt like that could happen after the first game. But I think after game two, he pretty quickly silenced it. I think it's clear that he's going to, walk into the league as an elite talent. Could be a year one all star if he can play like he did that second game. So we'll see. Sky's the limit. I think it's going to be amazing immediately as expected. He seems to be as advertised. So happy for the Spurs.
For sure. And I think there was a tiny bit of, maybe the offense isn't going to be as polished as I thought, especially
Yeah.
that first game. Right. Sometimes a bit of over dribbling. He's still, I mean, still a beautiful handle, but like that high dribble, I think guys were quick to take advantage of that in the first game. Um, he fell over a couple times getting bodied, and there were moments where I was like, okay, he's not gonna just maybe hop in and be an insane offensive talent, but even that first game he got 5 blocks seemingly without even trying. And then that second game, he flashed his athleticism. He had this like insane tip up to himself, which he then dunked, and then he elevated like crazy. So
Really quick jump on that guy. Like he's gonna get so many
yeah,
offensive rebounds just from being able to get up faster. And he's got such a long reach that I don't know. He's gonna force in the offensive glass even with a small frame.
yeah, absolutely. And the block timing is as advertised. I mean, the guy's I think gonna average like 3 blocks a game easily.
It's gonna be scary.
Yeah, and you know, there were moments where I was like, damn, this guy seems like he might when he was setting screens, he's so tall. People are like running into his knees. People are there were some closeouts that were super close, and I was like, damn, man, like he could roll his ankle. So I was like, I'm really hoping he can have a healthy first season. Knock on wood. Um, but yeah, I think the first game he was getting his feet wet. He wasn't, he was kind of being casual, maybe a bit too much so, but like the nerves I think are understandable. And then that second game he felt a bit, more comfortable. I think also like the touches he was getting were a bit strange. Like I feel like they could have fed him inside a bit more. They were often kind of feeding him in the high post, or like just swinging him the ball, and then he kind of would settle for some deep jump shots. But yeah, no, Wemby, I love him. Maybe my favorite player now. And I love that he's
Yeah,
number one. Number one is such a sick number, just an instant classic.
it is a good number. I wish he'd gone for something like, I think number 10 would have been great because I feel like that's a
No.
great European booch number to wear. But I don't know, number one's also good. And I agree with a lot of the things you said. I think immediately he's gonna be really good, but there probably are gonna be some struggles with his efficiency. Like they're gonna be like, probably a couple of shots that aren't immediately there for him. Like even in France, his 3-point shot wasn't incredible. He's not gonna walk in his rookie year and shoot 37, 38% from three. It'll probably be around 33% or lower. So not expecting that to be incredible immediately, although I think he'll develop it. His form looks really good. And I imagine the turnovers will be a little bit high to start also, because I think you nailed it about him just having a high dribble because he's so tall. So when he's backing someone down the post, it's pretty easy for a small guard to run in there and take the ball. So that's something he'll have to be aware of. But I think he'll develop that, back to the basket consciousness, the more he plays in the league.
Yeah, for sure. And I hope he's able to get like a go-to shot, like a post fadeaway would be so cool. A one-legged fadeaway, which I think he likes to do from the 3-point line. He likes to run into like a one-legged 3-point shot like he attempted at the end of that game. But yeah, I think he needs to find his shots. Maybe, dribbling a bit less and becoming more efficient will come with time. But the raw talent is there. I'm praying we get to see one more game at least out of him.
I think it's already
But
official that there's
it's
no more
official.
games.
I
Yeah, it's
figured.
official. It's official. So no more Wemby, which does suck because I was loving it. I would have loved to have gotten one more game, um, just to like see how he follows up that huge game. Like is it another inconsistent game, or does he follow up with something else great? We'll never
Yeah.
know. We gotta wait for the regular season now, which sucks. But I totally get it. The Spurs are doing the right thing, prioritizing his health. Like don't risk losing Wembanyama for an extended period of time by having him, getting some extra reps in summer league. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And honestly, he played more than I thought. Like there were times that they took him out pretty quickly in the first game, but he came right back out there. In the second game, he came back in the clutch, which I wasn't sure. And he I think, he played a nice chunk of minutes. So I'm super happy with seeing him play. Like my parents even came and watched it. So I was like, that was kind of shocking. They've never seen summer league games, but they had to see Wemby's debut. And my dad joined me a bit for the second game. So I
Yeah.
really hope he pans out, and I think he for sure will. So Wemby.
Yeah, Wemby is great for basketball. Great for views. I don't have the TV stats in front of me, but I wouldn't be surprised if his summer league debut was the most watched summer league game ever, because it seemed like everyone
Yeah.
was tuning in for that. The turnout in Vegas was huge. It was all over the big sphere, which is awesome. It felt like summer league was a much bigger deal this year, and I think Wemby was a big reason that it was. I'm glad he played it all because the Spurs could have held him out of it entirely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a bit ignorant. Is like the sphere like a new thing?
The
It
sphere's a new thing. I think it just came out 2 weeks ago or something like that.
and it's owned by the NBA, and that's where they're gonna do that like mid-season tournament at.
No, it's Vegas. It's owned by, I think it's owned by the MGM Casino or something like that.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it looks
it's sick.
sick.
It does look sick.
All right,
Anyway,
sounds like the Wemby takes are done. Then I'm talking about the sphere. Wemby's amazing. We've been saying that for a while, so no surprises to see him looking excellent. Pick number two, Brandon Miller, kind of an interesting one. What are your thoughts?
yeah, Brandon Miller.
Notably
Very
taken
rough.
before Scoot in the draft, so that
Right.
was obviously controversial. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I mean, without a doubt, a bit of a rough start for Brandon Miller. He's shown some nice flashes, but ultimately, I think is the Hornets team, their summer league team, is like particularly bad. I mean, he's not helping, he's not taking over, I guess, but like, I mean, it's like Kai Jones, I guess, and Book Knight are the only two players I even recognized, and they haven't been playing that well. Um, and yeah, Miller was struggling definitely with fouling, kind of using his arms on defense to keep guys in front of him and getting called for that a lot. And then, struggling a bit around the rim, things like that. But I don't think that's necessarily indicative of anything. I think he still has a super high ceiling, and he's hit some nice shots, and he had a nice game against the Spurs and Wemby. So a disappointing start for sure. But I don't think it's not worth sounding the alarm bells yet. I think he's a really good player. He's still super young, and you know,
Yeah, although he looked, I mean, if you look at the stat sheet, the stats have been really bad for him in summer league, especially those first two games where it was like 7 fouls and 8 fouls and inefficient shooting. But I actually think he's electric. I think he totally passes the eye test. I get the hype. Scoot has looked really good, and we'll talk about him next. But I still don't totally hate Brandon Miller at 2. Because I feel like he's still got everything that you're looking for in a NBA prospect these days. His jump shot looks amazing. I
yeah,
think he has a chance to be a lights out shooter at the small forward position, like potentially one of the best in the league. Kind of like, same trajectory Keegan Murray's looking at, something like that. He's like sharpshooter, good defender. He's also a crazy athlete. Like he had some pretty good dunks. His handle is nice. He seems pretty smooth with the ball in his hands. Like he passes the eye test with flying colors. The stats aren't there yet, but as a prospect, I still really like him. And although I think Scoot looks better now, I think the small forward position is more valuable than the point guard position. To where in the long term, this Brandon Miller pick could still pan out. Still don't know if it's the move I would have made, but even with the poor performance of Miller, I think this pick could still work out.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I think you're right. He is super smooth. His jump shot's a bit low, but I mean, it looks silky smooth.
And
Um,
the range is crazy on it. Like
right.
he pulls it from anywhere.
And I think the low release probably does help a bit with that. He has the range. We saw it in college, and um, yeah, no, and there were a couple moments where a guy went under a screen and he just pulled up. It was so silky. And had a nice finish at the end of the second game, I think. And yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, there were definitely moments where he looked really good, but then you kind of pan out and the stat sheet doesn't look great. So um but the eye test is important. And I think Shane in our group chat pointed out, plenty of guys don't have great summer league debuts. It doesn't really mean too much. um we're seeing some flashes, and I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity with the Hornets this year to improve and get comfortable. And so yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
uh,
the potential's still really good, and I think he'll play nicely off of Lamelo because they just gave him a max contract. Great passer, so surround him with shooters. Brandon Miller's gonna get tons of wide open looks from Lamelo. I think he's gonna look way better playing next to a passer like Lamelo, rather than this like joke of a summer league team that has Book Knight and Kai Jones on it. Like the Hornets been so bad for so long. I don't know how they don't have better prospects on their summer league team, but Miller is a ray of sunshine on a otherwise slightly dull roster.
yeah. And you see that a lot in summer league, where so many guys are just fighting for that opportunity to make a roster, or trying to get theirs, that sometimes the team chemistry is like awful, and some guys just, it doesn't help get anyone in a rhythm. And it can kind of sometimes help those guys that are more like ISO heavy, or who can kind of create their own shots. Not that Miller can't create his own shot, but you kind of get the feeling that this Hornets summer league team is just kind of horrible, as most summer league teams kind of are. And so I'm totally on the same page that I think this regular season he's going to have so much opportunity. Lamelo, great creator and playmaker. So still very excited for Brandon Miller. And I think he's also just like I don't know. I get good vibes. I get that he wants to be great. He wants to play hard. I know that, the intangibles are there too, is what I'm saying. So I'm still excited for him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's huge. He's like 6'9". That's awesome to have out there. Um, cool. All right. I feel like good transition to Scoot here. The Miller talk. I know we only got like half a game of Scoot, but
All
he
right.
was still electric, so I think he's totally worth talking about still.
Yeah. From the get go, he seemed ready. He seemed energetic. Hit his first couple jump shots and did 15 and 6. Scoot definitely made an impression early. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, man, it's such a good athlete, gets inside at will. Um, great first game, I thought, and disappointing that he left a bit early. But what were your impressions?
I thought he looked amazing. He is as advertised. He is such a freak athlete.
Yeah,
So much faster than everybody on the court, so he can zip past anybody to get to the hoop. He's huge. He can bully anybody in the paint. The jump shot looked better than expected. I was expecting it to, look a little bit broken during the games, but the mid range was solid. The release on the three looked good, even though I'm not expecting that to be there his rookie year. The passing was great. The intensity was incredible the whole time he was on the floor.
yeah,
He's so good. He also, going into this year, a lot of people were saying that he is a not generational talent, but an incredible one, and would go number one any year in a draft that doesn't have Wembanyama. So really good value for the Blazers taking him at 3, especially after like a really weird year where they tanked super hard at the end of the season, and then lucked down the lottery and got the 3rd pick. That's incredible value. Like this was the best year to try to tank, and they got into the top 3, and it worked out really nicely for him.
yeah. No, I agree, and for sure the intensity and as a playmaker, he seems very willing to just play in the flow of the team. He's gonna swing pass. He's gonna just make the right reads. Not too flashy, but I got really good vibes off a lot of the passes he was making early on, and we saw that with the ignite that he's a very good playmaker, great dump offs, uses his size extremely well. So um, you know, small sample size, but definitely loved what we saw from Scoot, and it was cool seeing him trade with Amen Thompson as well, who also left the game a bit early with his injury, but um, yeah, so far Scoot and Wemby as advertised. Brandon Miller a bit slow, but this rookie class has been super exciting.
Yeah, definitely a big fan of all 3 of these top picks. I think the scouts had it right with these guys going there. Um, and yeah, I like the Blazers are finally making this youth movement because they had some other exciting things. I know it's a little off topic, but I think Shaden Sharp also looks absolutely incredible, and I think him and Scoot next to each other is going to be an awesome backcourt. They're both freakishly athletic, super fun to watch. I think this is gonna be a nice, fun, young team now rather than this depressing team that's like, oh my god, can you guys stop ruining Damian Lillard's prime? I feel like the vibes got so much better overnight, assuming that they actually do trade Damian Lillard, which they absolutely should.
Yeah, seems like that's gonna maybe take a while to go through. It's
Yeah, I heard a rumor say that they're okay with keeping him, which I think is obviously a
oh my
smoke
god,
screen. Like they're gonna move him eventually, but yeah, they're gonna take their time with this move for sure.
and it makes sense. I mean, the Blazers just want to make sure they get the best return, and it's getting a bit ugly. But like I think Lowe mentioned that it makes sense from both sides. You can't really be mad at either side. Like the Blazers want the best return, and Dame wants to go where he wants to go. It is what it is, you know. But
Yeah, it's an interesting game of cat and mouse because at first they were like both sides are gonna work together to find Dame the best spot to go, but then Dame started sabotaging the Blazers by telling other teams that he wouldn't play for them, thus ruining the draft capital the Blazers could get. Now the Blazers are holding out on making the trade, considering keeping him. maybe they're going to consider moving him to a different team other than the Heat, which they should do. So it's very interesting. It started with like, both teams have worked together super nicely for the last decade. So, they're going to end on good terms, and it's getting gross and it's going to get worse.
Yeah. It's so funny too how the agent just confirmed the fact that he's calling teams saying that you he like might not even show up to training camp or whatever, or that he's going to be disgruntled.
Yeah, which and I think that's BS anyway. I think there's no way that he would actually do that. Like he was this loyal to Portland. If he gets traded to another team, I think he's going to show up regardless. I'd be surprised if he goes from this um I don't know, like super down to earth guy, like willing to, invest his career in one city to all of a sudden being like, I'm not showing up for anybody but the Heat.
Yeah.
Feels like a pretty big personality switch up. Maybe it could happen, but I don't think so.
Yeah. No, it's funny, and he's tweeting out kind of subliminal things on Twitter. I forget what he said specifically, but he's like, people know so much yet so little, or
Yeah, like what are
something
you talking about,
similar.
dude? Like everything that's getting put out there right now. You and your agent are talking. He's not doing anything without you knowing. Like you know exactly the storyline is being manufactured right now. If I'm the Blazers, I would tell all teams that I'm listening to offers and that I don't really care about where I send Damian. Like, sorry, but you're making 60 million. I need to prioritize my own franchise. This is the business. We're not giving handouts. I don't know why they would actually send Dame where he wants to if it's going to get them a worse package. I think the only argument is that they want to do right by him, so future free agents would want to come there, but no one's coming to Portland regardless. So you might as well just get your package for him to try to get as many opportunities at another homegrown superstar. Like get as many picks as you can and young prospects and move on.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think most teams also shouldn't really believe this idea that he's just gonna like not show up for 3 years if he doesn't get traded to Miami.
Yeah, he's making like 60 million a year. Like he's gonna pick up that paycheck.
Yeah, and most situations are going to be better than Portland. There's going to be there's going to be reason to want to participate. I think no matter where he lands, unless it's like truly an atrocious team. But why would an atrocious team trade for Damian Lillard at this point? So
Yeah,
anyway,
I shouldn't have brought him up. I'm super annoyed by the whole situation. So
yeah.
moving on, second year players that we think are balling out. Give me one.
Oh my God, I can give you five if you'd like, but I think
Let's
the
start with
top
one.
two. Okay.
Okay, give me two. Give me two. That works. That works. Give me your guys.
There's two that have come in and just absolutely torched the opposing teams, and that was Keegan Murray in his one game dropping like a 40 bomb and just looking like so above the competition. And then
He looked
Jabari,
incredible.
he looked incredible, and he is incredible. I think he's a very very good player. And then Jabari, who had a slow first half of his first game against the Trailblazers, and then he came into the second half, I think dropped like 28 points, hit the crazy game winner off of Tari's beautiful pass.
That was insane.
And then in his second game, I don't have the stat line in front of me, but another complete domination. He's hitting,
Yeah, I think it was 38 points or something like that. Like,
yeah, saying, Wiseman, you can't guard me. And he can't.
yeah, I mean it is James Wiseman, but yeah.
And I love Jabari as a player. I love his game. I love that mid range. I love everything about Jabari. So I'm super happy he shook off that slow first half to his summer league, and now it feels like he's probably going to get the rest of the time off. He played so well. So
Yeah, but both are way too good for summer league. Keegan proved it immediately. Don't even really know why he was playing. He had legitimate playoff experience last year, playing 30 plus minutes a game in the playoffs. Like I don't obviously he did not need summer league.
yeah,
But it's still nice to see him ball out like that, considering usually, when he's playing for the Kings, he's in more of a role player role. So nice to see him. really get into his bag and show everything that he can do. He looked phenomenal. Jabari was also excellent, which was nice. It seemed like he had improved a ton this offseason. He showed potential last year, but he looked a little bit raw, especially with the jump shot. The jump shot looks like so clean now. Like he pulls it like he's a shooting guard, reminiscent kind of like of Kobe or Michael. Like it is
Wow.
so clean, so high above his head,
Yeah.
so smooth for someone his size. Like I think he's got the smoothest jump shot for someone that height. The defensive potential is still totally there. He was dropping dimes also, like he was getting assists. Like he was clearly just so much better than everybody else on the court. He had no business being there. So that was nice to see, especially because people were a little bit worried last year that maybe he wasn't the right pick for the Rockets, but no, he's looking like a phenomenal pick now, and I love that fit for Houston.
Me too. And I think he's either 19 or 20, so he's still super
Yeah,
young. He played a ton last year for the Rockets. And I love those players who just have automatic mid ranges. It like they just have that bailout, unstoppable shot. And his happens to be that 20-footer step back or fade away that you nobody can guard for their life. And so super, super promising, Jabari Smith. And and Tari Eason, I'm gonna throw him in there, also has just been absolutely incredible. In his 2 games, looking very polished. They seem to get along super well after that Tari assist for the game winner. They were doing the post game interview, great vibes together. Tari saying he was the quarterback and he's averaged like 23 and 10.
yeah.
So
Tari preseason back at it. He was a preseason god last year too, so it was
yeah,
of course he was going to repeat. He's amazing. I hope he gets more minutes for the Rockets because it was clear last year that he was very deserving of more minutes, and for some reason the Rockets continued to play Eric Gordon, so that was tough to watch.
oh my
That
god,
was
yeah.
despicable. That was I hate Steven Silas. I'm so glad he's gone. I don't hate him, but he's just a very bad coach. So good that he's gone. Great for the Rockets' young talent. Also, side note, love the fit of Jabari next to our boy Shangoon because
Oh
Shangoon will be able to find him out of the post for open threes and open mid ranges. And I think Jabari's defense will be able to cover some of Shangoon's issues on that end. And I think that's just a perfect matchup. And throw in Tari too
yeah.
to also help out on defense. Like that's just perfect. As
It's
long as
it's my
Dylan Brooks
favorite.
doesn't play over Tari.
He probably will. But it's my favorite young front court. Maybe my favorite front court in the entire NBA. I think they have so much potential. And there was a funny moment too after the game winner, the post game interview. Jabari said something like, I'm sick of losing or something," and you can see Silas in the background.
Oh my god.
So it was a funny moment, but yeah, no, I think Ime will hopefully see that Tari is an absolute stud. I think I read out his stats, but 23 and 10 in 2 games, like 3 blocks
And
a game or something.
I think it's going to be hard for him to ignore. I wouldn't be surprised if Brooks very quickly finds himself in a low minutes role with the Rockets. That contract is going to age poorly. Even by the end of it, like it's not going to take up that much of the cap. 20 million in 4 years isn't going to feel that bad, but with all the talent that Houston has right now, I don't really see a way that Dylan Brooks starts on this team. Maybe he does right away, but I expect him to lose that pretty quickly. Maybe he's like a 25 minutes off the bench guy. I think that's probably his best role anyway, but I'd be surprised if he's playing more minutes than that.
We'll see.
Tari should get 30 plus if he's ready.
Yeah, and I think Jabari averaged like 30 minutes last year, so he is ready.
Yeah. 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 Jabari certainly is. Tari, I'm hoping is. So we'll see. Hopefully no Brooks. Cool. All right. Let me throw one at you. I
Please.
had someone who's not as prolific of a scorer as Keegan and Jabari had been in the preseason, but Chet Holmgren looks like a stud. The Thunder are going to be really good with him. His defense looks amazing. He looks pretty slick with the ball in his hands, gets tons of boards. Great impact player all around. And I think he's going to be an awesome fit on that Thunder team.
Yeah. Oh my God. He must have had like 3 or 4 two-handed blocks already. which
They're
are
so
just
sick.
yeah.
His highlights are incredible.
Yeah, yeah, that up and under, he just gets to his spots. The stats don't tell the
Really
full
good
story.
touch. Yeah, and it feels like he can score more, but I think he is willing to let his teammates cook a little bit, which I think one is good for someone who's probably going to play a lot of time at power forward in the center. We'll see if they throw him immediately in at center, but I think eventually that's going to be a role he grows into. But he's going to have tons of creators around him when he's playing full time with the Thunder. So I don't think the expectation is going to be a huge volume of shots for him. It's going to be efficiency, great defense, great rebounding, um, and hopefully the 3 point shot is ready for a lot of pick and pops.
Yeah. And with a name like Chet, I feel like there's no
Yeah,
way he's
we needed a good
an
Chet.
absolute stud.
Yeah. Yep. All
But
right, Chet sick.
Chet is sick. And again, man, those two-handed blocks. I love them. So
Yeah, and
fundamental.
the Thunder are gonna be sick. The Thunder are gonna take a huge step as a team. They're gonna be in the playoffs for sure. The big question is gonna be how high.
Did did J Dub also, I think he played a game, did he?
J Dub did. I put him on my list for fun. He only played one game. He just like absolutely dominated,
Yeah.
and was clearly way too good for summer league.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also,
So
like, what
so
are you
they
doing
pulled
there?
him after that. But he looked amazing. He's incredible. He's clearly the real deal. You know, the end of the rookie year was not a fluke.
Of course. Yeah.
He is super skilled. So that Giddy, SGA, J Dub, and Chet is an insane starting lineup.
For sure, yeah. And then yeah, and a couple nice pieces on top of that. So I'm with you. I'm with you that they're gonna kind of be the they're the team that's gonna come up you know, the most
Yeah,
this
they're the big riser. You know, I
yeah.
feel like we're due for at least one or two teams to get out of the I don't know, kind of like that bottom five zone that seems so hard to escape once you're in it. I think they're gonna be one of the teams that finally gets out of it.
Yeah. And Cason Wallace, right?
There's a name. Yeah.
That's a name. Cason Wallace, he's their rookie, the 10th overall pick. He dropped like 20 points on 6 threes, like a beautiful at the I think at the halftime buzzer, like half court shot. And like he was someone that was like kind of loosely on my radar, played super well in college, just seems like a great pick. I trust that front office, but
Yeah. Hopefully that plays out because that is a pretty crucial draft spot because there are a couple of big names that went around there, whereas like Jet Howard went after Grady Dick 2 picks later that people like a lot. So we'll kind of that's always a very interesting part of the draft. I feel like that 10 to 15 range, there's always one huge draft steal. We'll see if the Thunder got him. Not really sure yet, but yeah, he does look pretty good.
yeah. Any other second year studs?
Those are the big ones that I threw on my list. Um, a fun shout I want to give was just uh Jalen Duren. He looked really good. They just played the other day. I think he
Yeah.
had like 23 and 10. He looked awesome. I kind of hate. I get why the Pistons traded for Wiseman. Because you know when you're a really bad team like that, you might as well give a top three pick a chance. But I'm hoping that Wiseman doesn't cut into Jalen Duren's minutes too much next year. I think he's clearly way better, and he should see 30 plus minutes a game. We'll see if that actually happens, but I was impressed. I think he's legit.
Yeah, for sure. On my list, I also had Benedict Mathurin. I believe he played one game. I didn't watch the game, admittedly, but I think he put up 27 points or something. So I
Yep, he's
think
awesome.
he's clearly too good for the summer league. And I think Jaden Hardy also. Um,
Oh yeah, he was really good, which is huge
yeah,
for the Mavs because the Mavs are definitely they really need one of their draft picks to finally pan out. They need somebody to step up because the roster does feel a little bit barren, other than Luka and Kyrie. So if he's good, that would be phenomenal for the Mavs.
yeah. So that was my list of sophomore studs. It's cool to see, especially again, Keegan and Jabari just absolutely balling out. I think that's a really cool draft class. Chet kind of on his redemption arc. Um, but yeah, it's cool to see, I must say.
Yeah, yeah, that is shaping up to be an awesome draft class. So hopefully we see really good things out of these guys in their sophomore seasons. Huge having Chet back because I think he could pan out being the best player in that class. So excited to see who really makes the big leap once the season actually starts.
Yeah, man. Paolo and Chet really, I think could be
Yeah,
a generational 1 and 2. I'm super excited to.
yeah, yeah, that's looking pretty good. But then there's also Jabari 3, who's also looking really good. So
Yeah, yeah,
all of a sudden
yeah.
that top three is like rounded out really nicely. That was a big debate that draft night. A lot of people had Jabari going 1, Banchero 3,
Oh my god.
and then after the draft, it had seemed that was the right move. Still feels like that's the right move. I kind of feel like I'd rather have Chet already, but we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a great debate throughout their entire careers. So I love that for that draft class.
All right, and then came Keegan, I think. Then
Yeah,
Ivy.
Keegan, then Ivy, then I don't know. This is where I get stumped.
I think then Benedict.
Oh, yep, you're right. Then Matherin.
Sharp. Anyway. Oh, actually, and then Dyson Daniels at 8, who I want to transition to because he's a second year player technically, but I think he's more of an under the radar kind of guy. But
For
he's been
sure, for
balling
sure.
out in his 2 games. He's been playing super well, averaging like 17 and a half points, 3 steals, 10 rebounds, 5.5 assists. The shooting doesn't look great, but he's an incredible athlete, incredible rebounder, which, not the most important thing as a guard, but he kind of has that. He reminds me a lot of Josh Giddey and Ben Simmons a little bit too, minus like the elite
Mm.
athleticism pre downfall.
Yeah,
But
I mean he's pretty big, so I think those are fair comparisons, but also very lofty, of course. Those are excellent players. I like
yeah,
Dyson from what I've seen. I really haven't watched too much of him in the preseason, but I did catch a little bit of him last season. He got some run time when McCollum was down, and he did seem like a good gadget guy, Swiss Army guy. Plays hard. He's big, defends well, passes pretty well, hustles well. Doesn't really
yeah.
shoot well, but he's a good player to have, and an excellent backup point guard for any team.
Very smooth, very athletic. Like he got some pretty nasty blocks. I didn't watch the games, I watched the highlights, but some nice like step back Jays, great finisher, and like the defensive stats are there as well. Like averaging 3 steals in 2 games and a block and a half. So he was the 8th overall pick. So, I think there's reason to be optimistic there. Incredible size. Um, so yeah, he was actually one of the 3 players I noted as like a summer league standout, somebody a bit under the radar that I was super impressed by. Again, watching their highlights, I didn't watch the Pelicans games, I admit, but
Can't catch all of them as long as you do your homework. Yeah, I
yeah.
like that. That's a good take. Did you have anything else you want to touch on before we dive into rookies?
Um, no, not really. We touched briefly on Sharp. He looked really nice too.
Yeah,
For our second
Sharp
year
looks so good.
standouts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be incredible. Great athlete. The shot looks really good. Great ball handler. Runs the floor super well. He's kind of a came in as a big guard, and I think they'll transition him to small forward, which I think is a really nice fit for him. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the Blazers. We already kind of touched on him, but he's gonna be great.
Yeah. Insane athlete. Like he had a block, just standing vertical, pinned it off the glass. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Yeah, let's do rookies. Let's part two this. So make sure
Okay.
to tune in the next video, everybody. All right, taking a quick break from the action to talk about a special opportunity for our fans. We are currently at 9 subscribers, and we are shooting for double digits, trying to get to the huge number of 10 for this channel. And if we get there, we'll drop a second podcast this week dedicated to the fans, dedicated to that 10th subscriber. So please, everybody, smash that subscribe button if you want this second podcast. And thank you all for your support. And we're back. Part 2 of the Harold Mick Basketball Show. We wrapped up talking about the top 3 picks in their summer league performances, along with some of our favorite second-year players. So now we're gonna get on to our favorite rookies. So, Paul, you got anyone you want to talk about?
You can start us off. I feel like I've been ranting a bit. Who is a
Okay,
rookie that really stood out to you?
I'm gonna I'm gonna choose two who kind of count as one, and that's the Thompson twins. Um, th- yeah, Eamon and Asar, they both look incredible. Their highlights were phenomenal, going into the draft, but there was a little bit of speculation that maybe they weren't all that because they were playing in the overtime elite, which is essentially a weaker version of the league that Scoot was playing in. So it's like you guys are really all that. Like, why are you not playing in the same league as Scoot, playing up with the same competition? So I was a little worried that maybe that was to boost their draft stock and make them look a little bit better. But I think it's clear that they were very worthy of the fourth and fifth picks. They are super weird to watch play. They move very uniquely. I don't really know how to explain it, but they take like really big, long steps. They're
Yeah.
freaky athletes, just insanely fast, insane bounce, and their stat stuffing is like really strange. And I don't know if it's going to keep up to the same level in the pros. I mean, obviously not, but I feel like all their stat lines are like 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, 3 steals, or something like that. They get so many defensive stats, it is incredible. And they just hound people on the ball. And they both play like the exact same way. They're both awesome.
Yeah. No, I loved watching them. I wish they could have faced off in that second game, but
Yeah, that would have been so sweet. That's gonna be box office in the regular season.
is it pronounced Amen?
I don't know. Maybe.
I think I've been hearing.
Amon
No,
Thompson.
no.
I think Amon is right.
Okay, we'll go with Amen. But I think he put up like 16 points in his debut against Scoot. He looked tough, man. He was playing with some fire.
Yeah, he's
Like
huge
you
too.
said,
They're both big.
yeah, no, they were. I really liked what I saw. They're tough. The way they run, like you said, it's kind of hard to describe, but like Amen pulled out like a hezzy that was crazy, and the way he got to the rim, some weird like kind of off balance floater shots, but like great touch.
Yeah, Amon also had a lot of those where he'd be driving on the right side and
Yeah,
then go up with his left
his
hand and get
left hand.
really weird English off the backboard really high. And the first time I saw it, I was like, that was a fluke. I think he threw it up there and got lucky. And he did 2 more times that game, and I was like, all right, never mind. He can just do this.
Yeah, yeah, he did that. The right side, yeah, the way he would just, yeah, I can't explain it. Very, very interesting to watch him make those layups, but they were like pretty uncontested. He got so high so quick, switched hands, so it looked pretty smooth, but kind of awkward at the same time. Um, and then he even, drained a three. I think he was like one of three from three. Actually, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and that was one of the critiques for Amon coming into the draft is that his 3 point shot wasn't quite there, and I don't going 1 for 3 in a game doesn't silence the haters on your 3 point shooting, but it looked good. It was a clutch three too, as far as the end of the game. So it was a big shot. It was a high pressure three to take and make in that situation. So I was impressed with that. And even if the shot's not there immediately, I think it'll come along.
Yeah, actually, I think he was just one for one.
Yeah, there you go then. Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
I
Doesn't
apologize.
miss.
Six shooter. Yeah, Asar was, I guess, the scouted as the better shooter.
Yeah, and that's also an interesting thing because I think initially Asar was scouted as the better player. I think it's always
Mm.
been a little bit of a coin flip, but in overtime elite, Asar was MVP of the league that last year. I think he might have also been Finals MVP. Don't quote me on that, but I think the production had always been better coming from Asar than Amin. But when the draft came around, the Rockets just seemed to prefer Amin.
Maybe it was a mistake.
Maybe they just didn't know. They're like, I don't know. They're the same player. Let's just flip a coin.
So interesting. And they are, I mean, I wonder if at one point I'll be able to tell them apart. maybe. I don't think I can tell the Martin twins apart, but they're not
Yeah.
very.
They're not very notable.
Yeah, they're not notable enough. But yeah, they are identical to the core, and like the way they move is the same. But I guess again, Asar is a more willing shooter, and they say Amen's more of like a playmaker, kind of more willing to dribble. Um, but they're both dimey. They both are incredible athletes, and they just have a cool vibe. I don't know.
The vibes are great. Oh my god. They're gonna sell a lot of jerseys. They're super fun. I love watching them play. They're gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
It's such a shame though that because there's no way that Amon's gonna be able to start for Houston now that they have that Fred Van Fleet and Jalen Green in the guard spot. So he's gonna have to come off the bench his rookie year, which is a shame because he's so good.
Yeah.
Super good, super fun. It would be great to have him develop next to Jalen Green. I feel like that's a good fit because Thompson's a better ball handler and passer. So you can stick him in next to Green, put some good shooters around him with Tari and Jabari. Maybe have him do a little two-man game with Şengün. Like that's a great team. That's a great young team. And I just don't know what Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks are doing on it. It's still confusing.
Yeah. Let's not go down that rabbit hole again because it's infuriating.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, Thompson twins, awesome vibes. 1 through 5 of this draft. Brandon Miller a bit shaky, like we mentioned, but everyone I'm pretty high on, I must say.
Yeah, yeah. I think this draft is a little bit deeper than expected. Cool. Give me someone else.
Well, we've talked about 1 through 5. So then I'm gonna bring up the 6th overall pick, Anthony Black to the Orlando Magic. Um, and again, I don't watch too much college ball. I got familiar with his game a bit towards the draft. I was like, I don't know how I feel about him. He doesn't shoot, blah blah blah. Um, but in his one game, I believe he had 17, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, some really nice finishes. The guy's smooth, crazy athletic, good footwork. I don't know. I think he might just be a vibe. And that small sample size, he played really great. And he got the approval from Josh Giddey, I believe, on Twitter, which made
Damn.
me, yeah. Giddey said this guy's legit. So
All
if
right,
Giddey
Josh
says
Giddey
it,
verified. All right,
yeah.
that matters. That's kind of changing my opinion. I did see that his stat line looked pretty good, but I haven't caught his highlights yet. But I watched him a lot at Arkansas. Arkansas is a team that I had as a dark horse last year for March Madness. I think I had them going Elite Eight and Final Four in a couple of my brackets. Um, and Anthony Black was a part of it, but because I watched a lot of Arkansas last year in March Madness and didn't really love what I saw from Anthony Black. So I'm gonna pay closer attention to him now after that first game, but I'm still a little bit of a skeptic. He seemed to disappear in a lot of the Arkansas games where he just wouldn't really get the ball a lot, wouldn't do a lot with it when he had it. So I'm still not totally sold on him as a prospect. I might kind of double down on my take and be like, I need to see more out of him before I'm willing to get on the Anthony Black train.
Fair enough. And I think there's some it's going to be an interesting fit in Orlando, who's not particularly great at shooting as is. And that's kind of a part of his game that he definitely needs to work on. So it'll be an interesting fit, but
Yeah,
um
there's also a lot of guards there. I don't really know how Orlando is going to shake that out. I mean, granted, when you're in Orlando's position, don't draft for fit. Take whoever you think is the best player available. If you
yeah.
need to move anybody, like Fultz is on a movable contract. Suggs and Cole are still on super cheap deals, so you can pretty much move any of them. And if Anthony Black ends up being the best, then boom, there you go. He's your starting point guard. Um, but I don't know. It's gonna be a little bit weird to start. Not sure if he's get those starter minutes right away.
Yeah. The Magic, it's interesting because they don't have like any true point guards almost. They have a lot of these combo guards who are better scorers. Obviously, Fultz is a great passer, but I don't know. I think they're kind of that Raptors vibe where they have a lot of tall, athletic playmakers, and we'll see how it all meshes together. But Although they do have a lot of guards, I kind of don't hate. Again, I kind of have this unrealistic. I like the Magic a lot for whatever reason. Love Franz, love Paolo, love Markel. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like I'm optimistic that all these guys kind of have a bit of playmaking in their game, all super tall, switchable. Um, and guys like Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony, I think, are a bit expendable, but the
For
others I think
sure.
are
Yeah,
awesome and could play well together.
they could definitely move off of, one of those backup guards to make room for Anthony Black to get more minutes. I just looked at him. He's 6'7". This guy is huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that's pretty exciting. I like that for the Magic. I'd love to see a lineup with him out there with Paulo Franz and um Wendell Carter Jr. Like
yeah.
that's nice. And then you can pretty much stick any of those guards next to him. Maybe ideally someone who gives you a little more shooting than Fultz, but I don't know. I also like Fultz, so I wouldn't hate just kind of seeing what happens with that lineup. The vibes are definitely good with the Magic, even though I'm not all the way in on Anthony Black.
Yeah. And 19-year-old, I think he was like an incredible football player apparently in high school. Like he's just kind of, I think, one of those natural elite athletes that'll just kind of
Yeah, and he's 6'7", so I think I could pretty easily be persuaded to forgive him for not getting Arkansas to the Final Four for me. Maybe that's just what I'm mad about. They didn't do good enough in March Madness for me. I had too much money riding on that team. I don't know, but 6'7", I like. It seems like the upside is definitely there, so I'm gonna start paying more attention.
who was the other big prospect on that Arkansas team? I know Jordan Walsh, the Celtics rookie, was.
Yeah, they did have one of their other guards was supposed to go high. It was Nick Smith Jr. He fell a lot. I have the draft in front of me right now, actually, because I
Got
remember
you.
initially Nick Smith and Anthony Black were both pretty much neck and neck in the draft, and I don't really know what happened, but I don't know. I just think Nick Smith wasn't nearly as good in workouts, and the scouts really took a deeper look. So he felt pretty big. Let's see. Yeah, he's on the Hornets. So hey, maybe he can back up LaMelo.
Yeah, that Arkansas team definitely interesting.
It was
Because
a cool team, and actually that might be a good transition because someone else that I did have on there, maybe kind of biased, but I think Walsh is pretty awesome. I think he looks great. I think he's a good hustle guy, and I think he brings a lot of energy that the Celtics essentially traded away this offseason with Marcus Smart and Grant Williams. I think he can fill in very easily and take over that Grant Williams role.
yeah, I mean, if he shot as well as he did in that first game,
Doesn't need to
uh,
shoot that well, just like it'd be great if he did though.
yeah. No, he seems like a cool guy. Obviously, he has a very iconic look already. I think he has alopecia, so he's got no hair, so he looks very like cool and unique.
Yep.
Um, and he's his arms are so long. He's like you said, a great hustle guy, but he hounds guys on defense. Um, and yeah, it seems like at Arkansas he didn't really find his place, but he only played 1 year there, so a young guy, and I think it was cool that Brad was able to land him like mid second round or early second round.
Yeah,
Um,
and the Celtics are trading down big time that draft to where it almost felt like they didn't really know what to do with that pick. But I think they had their guy picked out in Walsh and knew that nobody else was making moves for him at that point in the second round. So it'll trade back, get a couple extra second round picks, and still get your guy. Feels like a win. A lot of people have been saying, and not like a lot of people, but there's been talk that the Grant Williams loss this offseason is bigger than some people are making it out to be. It makes the Celtics a little bit shallower, essentially losing Marcus Smart and Grant Williams, two playoff rotation guys, and only getting back one playoff rotation guy in KP. But like I said, I think Walsh could pretty easily just step up and fill in that Grant Williams role to where that loss doesn't sting nearly as bad. And he's way more affordable, so it keeps us out of that second apron.
yeah, I think he's still very young, very raw. So whether he can step up immediately, we'll have to see. Um, I think we signed like Brissett, who I think might kind of have the
Yeah.
advantage there for just being a bit more experienced. But we'll dive into the KP stuff later or on another episode. But I tend to be in that camp that we definitely did get more shallow because Grant was an excellent shooter, super switchable. I do see the potential in Walsh, but again, I think he's pretty raw at this point, pretty skinny. Um, but yeah, no, I like the potential. I like the look. I like the highlights I've seen from his like AAU days. The dude was a monster, super athletic, talks his shit. I like Jordan Walsh.
Yeah, shout out Arkansas. That was a good team they had last year. Let's transition because we do have more Celtics talk coming at some point. So, anyone else you want to touch on from the rookie class?
There is one man who went 16th overall, and his name is Keontae George.
Oh, good one.
Yeah. I think played only one game for the Jazz, but he passed the eye test. Like, I don't think any of the other rookies have passed the eye test so far. He put up like 33 and 10, super efficient, super smooth, pull up J's, pull up threes. Like, I don't know, really nice, not overly complicated passes. And I just have this trust in Danny Ainge of making incredible picks. So it's one game, but this guy Keontae George, and he looks the part. He looks so smooth. Um, and I think there's kind of an opportunity for him to like have a big role with the Utah Jazz because they definitely have a hole at the guard spot. So yeah, Keontae George, sick name as well.
Yeah, that's a good take, and I think it's possible that maybe he won't start right away, but he could easily see big minutes on that Jazz team because I mean Jordan Clarkson, they've got him on a contract, so he's likely sticking around at shooting guard, but the point guard spot's wide open right now. They still have Sexton, who they're kind of iffy on. They've already talked about potentially trying to trade Sexton. And if he gets moved or they just decide they prefer him in a six man role, then that point guard spot is pretty much wide open. No one has really stepped up and taken that from Mike Conley when he exited. So the role could be there. I think he'll get some minutes.
Yeah. And in my brief research, I think the 10 assists maybe like slightly a fluke. I think he only averaged a few assists in college. And like looking at the highlights, there were a couple like kind of generous assists where he just kind of swung it and then the other guy like attacked the rim and it wasn't him just like absolutely diming people up, but especially the scoring, he seems like a very confident, very natural scorer. And yeah, maybe a bit of playmaking potential there as well.
Yeah, that's a good take. I'm gonna go for another slightly deep cut here. Um, Great name, maybe the best name in this draft class. Um, Jaime Jaquez on the Heat.
Hell yeah.
He's looked really good. Yeah, UCLA product. Drafted to be a big time energy guy, but he's looked like a really good all around player. He plays really hard defense. He shot the ball pretty well. And the stat sheet always looks full for him. He's always scoring like high teens towards the 20s, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, some steals and blocks. Seems to be doing it all. Really gets the team motivated. Their summer league team has been incredible. Not that that
Mm.
really matters, but it is nice when you see a summer league team really clicking. And it's clear that it's because of Jaquez. And then also minor shout out to Jovic, who has also looked pretty good.
Yeah, I caught their first game and then the game against the Celtics, which Jaime unfortunately did not play in. But in that first game, him and Jovic both looked really good, and Jaime was knocking down threes. He had like a pretty nice poster, I believe, in the first half of the game. Um, and I actually watched his podcast. He was on the Paul George podcast. Just seems like a chill dude. He first thing he did after he got drafted was text the OG Udonis Haslam. So, his head's definitely in the right place. You got to
Yeah,
pay homage there. And yeah, with a name like Jaime Jaquez, you know, you're gonna be good. And yeah, I'm sure the Trailblazers are. keeping a keen eye on how Jovic and Jaime are playing, because those are first rounders, and
Yeah,
they've shown some good upside in their limited playing time.
yeah. I don't want to hamper too much again on the Lillard trade, but I agree. I think a package of Jaquez, Jovic, Hero, and then our other picks we thrown in. I think that's a really good package. Like I think that's gonna be hard to outdo. Just given the situation that most teams are in right now. So I don't know, but I think those prospects are great, and I think the Blazers should be interested.
Yeah, it's a palatable return, as Zach
I
Lowe.
I yeah, and
I
I
think
think
it's
that's
better than
well
palatable,
said.
though.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's like you get all the young prospects that you need for an up and coming team. I feel like people have really beat up on Hero recently for no reason. He's still super young, averages like 25-5 on a pretty stacked Heat team. Like he's awesome. All right, I don't go down the Lillard rabbit hole again.
Yeah.
Um, any more rookies? That pretty much does it for my big standouts. I'm sure we'll find some more as summer league continues to roll in Vegas, but those are kind of my initial standouts.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything for me as well. Just a quick shout out to Orlando Robinson. I think he's like maybe a third or fourth year player. He was undrafted, but he freaking torched the Celtics, like 36 points. He's now the leading scorer of summer league. 11 rebounds, like 3 of 4 from three. Looked really good. So again, small sample size, but there's a bit of room on that Miami Heat team for, I think, a backup big. And Orlando Robinson looked really nice again against a pretty weak Celtic summer league team. So, but
Yeah,
36 points.
I'm gonna give one more shout out to Amoni Bates, who was drafted late by the Cavs.
Mm.
He he reposted on Instagram that he scored 27 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 6 of 7 from three, and he did not, like not even close. So I don't really know like how he thought he scored that much and shot that well. He's been pretty inefficient. Some people are speculating that this was propaganda and that he knew what he was posting was false and he was just trying to improve his own stock amongst the league. I don't really know, but he did it. It was initially a ball sack sports post on Twitter, and then some shooting coach reposted it, and then he reposted it on his Instagram. So I don't know. Amoni Bates throwing out the propaganda.
That is too funny. I missed that. I missed that completely.
Absolutely spectacular. Joe said he's been very inefficient. He was the number one high school prospect going into. I think from 2 years ago he had 1 year at Memphis, didn't really play, transferred to a small school where he balled out, got drafted late by the Cavs. He's been inefficient. He takes bad shots. I kind of like him though. I kind of like him. He's
Okay.
like 6'9", small forward, really good stroke. Seems to shoot it well. Not really sure if he's a taller Bones Highland or if he's potentially going to be more than that. But I think there's something there. I think it was good to take a late flyer on him rather than let him go undrafted. But maybe that's just the propaganda working on me. Not really sure.
Where was he picked? Was he like second round?
Yeah, very late in the second round too. I think it was probably 40s or 50s. I can
Interesting.
do a quick check. Yeah, he was taken 49 by the Cavs, and he played at Eastern Michigan last year.
Okay.
But his highlights are spectacular from Eastern Michigan, and all the talk was essentially that all he does is make tough shots at Eastern Michigan. So when you put him up against NBA talent, those tough shots become blocked shots, which makes sense. He's not a spectacular athlete by any means, but he's 6'9", I think actually 6'9", 6'7", something in that range. Shoots it really well. The Cavs have good guards. Like if you get him open, I think he's going to knock down those threes. And the Cavs have a huge hole at the small forward position. So I'm not totally out of him. I think there could be something there.
Yeah, interesting. I'm looking up his stats right now, and okay, granted Eastern Michigan, but 19 points, shot 33% from three. Like, I'll have to investigate a bit. I have heard of him. I saw like he did really well at the draft combine. I also saw a tweet that, like, now I'm thinking like maybe it was from Ballsack Sports, but it was like steal of the draft question mark.
Probably a meme. Um,
Yeah, I'm thinking it might
but
have been a meme.
but he did go viral a couple months ago because he had a crazy game where I think he dropped 50 points with some pretty insane efficiency from three. And there's still just huge hype around him because he was the top prospect coming out of high school. So a lot of people who love watching hoop mixtapes on YouTube, like those guys like love Amoni Bates. So he does have a cult following, even though he was such like a late round draft pick and played at Eastern Michigan last year.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's weird because it feels like a little bit of like a microwave brain take to say that he might be good. Because I feel like that's what everyone who just watches YouTube highlights would say. I think he could be good. I think it's possible. I don't think he'd be great, but I think he'd be okay.
Yeah, no, and that take right there, like if he's not that great, I feel like whatever, nobody's really gonna remember this. If he ends up being nasty, we have it on recording, you know. It's here, it's official. So that I think that's a very safe and good take that could age incredibly well. But good luck beating out my boy George Niang for that starting
Cool.
small forward spot.
Mm, mm. I think Niang's actually a decent signing. Yeah, because he's a good shooter. I think he probably fills in well enough for what they need. But I don't know. He just looks so unathletic. And just like I don't know. I just can't with him. I can't take him seriously.
Yeah. No, no, I'm not going to debate that super hard. I do like Yang, as previously mentioned. It's funny in 4 episodes. I feel like we have repeated a couple like pretty obscure like
Yeah, no,
names and takes.
we've definitely got some favorites that are arising on this podcast. I think George Niang is one of them.
Please come on the podcast, George.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
you're
We
from
would love to have you.
Massachusetts. You're from Massachusetts. Um, you know, we will make you the face of this podcast.
Yeah, yeah, we're still waiting for our first NBA guest. It's between you and Daniel Tice. So try to beat him to
Yes.
it. We will give you a free subscription to the YouTube channel if you are our first guest. So please come on.
Yeah. I Daniel Tice. I don't think I should like really delve into any details of why you mentioned that he could be a guest, but yeah, there's just like a chance there. There's like some seeds could be
Yeah,
planted. No,
we
realistically,
have
not at all.
we have connections. We have connections. So who knows?
We have
All right, cool.
connections.
Well, that does it for our rookie talk, right? Anyone else you want to shout out? I think that does it for me. Who's the other French guy? Say his name, and then we're good.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. The Wizards guy.
Yeah, it's like Kalubali or something.
Yeah, Wizards rookie.
Just say his name. We don't even need to talk about him.
I don't think I can say his name, man.
Okay. Well, I saw a tweet about him the other day where Johnny Davis was saying that he's impossible to guard, and all the comments were like, "With all due respect, I need to hear this from somebody else."
I saw that as well. Koulibaly, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Apparently, he's supposed to be good.
Um, yeah. The Wizards, I kind of think they could be. No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it. But Tyus, Kuzma, Poole, cool little trio there.
Okay, let's. All right, I'm calling it now before we get too deep into
Okay,
to
yeah.
Wizards talk.
I'd
Um,
like to real quick give a shout out to everyone who's listened. Um, to anyone who's checked us out on the Apple Podcast app, which we're now available on. Super cool. And
yes,
the last podcast got 30 views, which is an upgrade from 20. And I don't think we have huge aspirations for this, but if you comment, we will respond. If you subscribe, we will be so grateful. And it's been so much fun recording each podcast, and like in a couple group chats, we get some feedback that brings joy to my heart. So that's my shout out to our few and faithful fans.
yeah. Shout out to the fans. The growth has been exponential, so let's
Yeah,
keep it up. And sweepstakes winners are dropping at the end of the week, so you'll find out soon enough who's winning the free subscription to our YouTube
the
channel. So
free
stay tuned.
lifelong subscription
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
that can't be canceled.
All right, well, thank you all for tuning into this episode, and we'll do Celtics and Suns later this week in another episode, so we can really dive into that. So thank you all for tuning in, and until next time.